We had breaking news this morning that UNC, and we've talked about this story a few times on this show, and I don't think it's because we're like particularly juiced about this story, but it just keeps giving us this content. UNC has banned Jordon Hudson, Bill Belichick's girlfriend, from the football facilities. The quote from Pablo Torre is, she's no longer allowed in the football building, and she's not allowed on the football field. I don't think you'll be hearing much from Jordan moving forward. Really fascinating development. You and I kind of called this last week saying like UNC is a very prestigious elite institution that probably isn't going to tolerate a lot of shenanigans. What's your reaction to their decision to ban Hudson?
Yeah, we've really never seen this before, right? We've seen coaches' wives be a part of things unofficially. Like you look at Miss Terry, right? Nick Saban's
Big
wife.
time.
But a real positive impact on the team, kind of another mother to some of these young men. Same thing with like, you can go all the way back to like Lute Olson and his wife, Bobby Olson, right? There were all those great love stories that showed like, hey, like, you know, this is a family here. This is the exact opposite of that. This is like your dad, you know, getting divorced and bringing home this woman who is like really kind of messing up the dynamic of your winning family. And I think that's the way the Belichick see it, and I think that's the way that UNC sees it. I also think it's kind of how Bill Belichick sees it, because in my opinion, having been there before in a toxic relationship, there's nothing better than when an institution or a friend or someone will take the bat out of your hands, and I can look over there and say like, yo, they say you can't come. I don't know what to do, but like, I think Belichick could be moving himself away from the situation, because if Bill Belichick was being Bill Belichick and like flexing his muscle, I think it would have been a bigger deal. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like I want her to stay.
Right.
And UNC's like, well, you can't. And then it's like, well, I'm going to take a leave of absence or blah, blah, blah. This almost seems to have gone too smoothly, where it was like they got with Bill and Bill was like, all right, I'll just tell her, or somebody can tell her. I'll tell her, Bubba, the AD of North Carolina. Now we're talking about him again, another juicy story after the NCAA tournament selection of North Carolina. I'll tell her that you said she can't come. And I think that's a possibility. But either way, she's not going to be around. And I think that's good for the program. I think it's actually good for everybody. This is like an ugly story. It's fun to cover, but at the same time, these are real people's lives. And it's good to have some sort of intervention here, because you don't want to see this young woman continue to get raked over the coals in the court of public opinion. She's a person, you know?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Man, it is a wild time in the world when we're talking about Bill Belichick, girlfriend.
What does Zach think? What is that? Is Zach over there?
Zach is over here. Yeah. Come in, Zach. Say what's up to Pete.
Well, I don't know how I can.
I don't know how I can get on here and talk. Oh, there you go.
Do know that. No, I think that this was going to be something that was going to be a problem if they didn't do something to kind of like force their hand in a way. But I do agree. This did go very smoothly in a sense that it does seem like they were like, come on, Bill. After that interview, like, really?
Yeah.
Well, and listen, this is what Cam said to us earlier this week, right? Is like something's going to give. Like the Bill Belichick we have known for decades doesn't let anything get in the way of football, period. And so as soon as this starts affecting, I mean, in college, like, does this affect recruiting conversations? Does this, it's not a surprise, I think, to any of us that this didn't extend through the summer into the season.
I think you make a great point, and I think how Cam would say it is, we've talked about the fact that Bill Belichick could not let this go any further, and we'll talk about that next more on the Cam Show.
That's pretty good, Pete. Pete, anything else before we?
No, man, you guys are great, Scotty. I caught some of the show yesterday. Shahan is awesome. I got a project for you, okay? It's a simple project. I want you to think about some of the best Big 12 quarterbacks, right? College quarterbacks that still live in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Waco, Central Texas area, okay? And I need you to tell me who they are. All right.
Okay. So all-time Big 12 quarterbacks who are still near DFW or Central Texas.
Yeah, and they got to be alive, obviously.
I'm sure there's quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you know, but I'm working on a project where I might need some. So
all right.
let me. And I was talking to a guy yesterday at the Big 12, and I was like, oh, I know a dude who will have an idea of some of these dudes. And
hey, if you extend your search to Houston, that's where Robert Griffin is. So
yeah, but he's too big time.
Yeah. Okay. So you want great Big 12 quarterbacks, but not actually
who are accessible, and won't cost $1 million to sit down with.
Okay, yeah. I'll start digging into that for you, man.
Just think about it. All right.
Okay, man.
All right, you guys are the best. Seriously, you're doing a great job, and Zach, it's fun to have you back up in the treehouse with us. I just love it. So. Yeah,
there we go. There we go. All right, Pete Souza from Oklahoma City. Catch him on ESPN.
Hey, first game today. Honestly,
softball.
First game, I was just texting with Glenn Moore, and he's so bummed. I love that dude so much. We're so lucky to have him in Central Texas, like so lucky. But Baylor's out. I say that, but first pitch is at 3 p.m. Central Time. Arizona State, Texas Tech. I'm telling you guys, it's me, and if you're watching the show, you can tolerate me, and Kat Osterman, who's one of the best softball players of all time, and you can watch one of the best pitchers in the world right now, Nyjah Kennedy, with that $1 million arm, and you can see why she is so special. So it's a parachute in, hang out with us for a little bit. Kennedy goes both ways too. She might hit a home run and might no hit Arizona State. But Arizona State has this young woman, Kelsey Hall, who's awesome, has an amazing story. So check it out, all right?
Sounds good, Pete. We'll be with you on ESPN Plus, man. See you Monday?
Yeah, I'll be back. See you Monday.
Great. We'll do it again Monday.
All right, fellas. Later.
Yeah, Pete Souza joining us from Oklahoma City, Big 12 softball tournament. Check that out today on ESPN Plus. I did want to make a couple more comments on the Jordon Hudson thing real quickly, and then we'll take a break and get to my buddy Terrence Ganaway in just a second. Bear the Truth says, hey, Jordan, here's my credit card. Have fun at the mall. See you after the season. That's good, brother. That's good. Okay. Here are my thoughts on this. First of all, and I've said this to a few people in the past few weeks, like there's some cultural wisdom, some societal wisdom we have in America that just kind of goes like, keep your work and dating life separate. Right? Like generally speaking, that's just a good policy. Maybe you have a story about that going poorly, or you have a friend that has a story about that going poorly. And this is that times 10, right? Like, because this isn't just work and dating life that we're overlapping. This is like work and dating life. And also Bill Belichick is a celebrity who hates being in the spotlight, but he's arguably the greatest NFL head coach of all time and a surefire Hall of Famer. And you know, you add in the age gap thing, and it just adds more of this media firestorm, pop culture attention thing. So this was never going to end well, especially when Jordon Hudson started getting involved in Bill Belichick's work. As I said to Pete, this is probably the fourth time we've talked about this topic on this show because we've been anticipating something like this, that there was going to have to be a breaking point where the university made a decision or Bill Belichick made a decision to move on and do something different. UNC is an elite academic institution. If you've never kind of lived in the Southeast, I spent a summer in Georgia in college during an internship and kind of got to know the culture just a little bit. And UNC is seen very much as like one of the top flight, prestigious, white collar, like I don't want to say like ritzy and preppy, but kind of is. It's kind of the vibe of the school. They were never going to tolerate this for long. I also wanted to go ahead and just directly address, if you're watching the show or watching this segment back later, we got a lot of comments on the last couple videos we did covering this that either said, hey, leave it alone. They're both adults. They can do what they want. Or we got a lot of comments that kind of said the opposite of like, this is disgusting. Bill Belichick's just gross. And I just want to make it clear that our intention on the Pete Souza Show is not to say either of those things. We're commenting on this because it's big sports news. Like this is going to be all over every sports show today. This is a Hall of Fame coach who already made headlines by making his return in college, which is shocking, right? That he wasn't back on an NFL sideline, and he's at North Carolina of all places. And this 24-year-old comes in seemingly out of nowhere and seems to manage and manicure his reputation, dictate the rhythms of his life. It's been bizarre. And as Pete said, and I just want to reiterate, Jordon Hudson and Bill Belichick and all these are real people. And I think all of us want them to be well and safe and happy. And this situation has been way too public and way too messy, and it's brought out some of the worst in us as a society, I think. Comments like that, where we're trying to get way involved in people's personal life. That's not what we want to do. We just want to talk about the sports side of it. So I have two questions now as we go into the summer and get ready for the 2025 football season. Two questions that come out of this story for me. One, how does this affect game day? So, like, is Jordon Hudson, I know I read in Pablo Torre's report, she's not allowed in the facility and she's not allowed on the field. Is she allowed to come to games? Can Belichick put her in a suite? Like I'm really interested to see. And if she's in a suite, by the way, are we going to have like Taylor Swift style cutaways every 2 minutes to Jordon Hudson standing in the window, like rooting on UNC? I think this, some of the drama of this story is not going to go away. And then B, I think this gives Bill Belichick a much shorter leash at the helm of this program. I think if you hire Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick and he comes in and does his thing and it takes, maybe he has like a Matt Rule arc, right, where it takes a couple seasons to get everything implemented and by year 3 you're winning football games, I think that would be acceptable. But now I'm honestly wondering if UNC comes out and wins 5, 6 games this fall, at what point does the administration go, yeah, this ain't even worth it? Like, it's not even worth it. Like, we hired this guy to win football games, and we're a 500 team, right? I think his leash now is going to be much shorter. That's really fascinating to me. So even though we've moved on from maybe Jordon Hudson being in the building or micromanaging the social media accounts for UNC or anything like that, I do wonder how it affects stuff this fall. I don't think this is the last time we'll be talking about it, although I do hope for her sake this quiets down a little bit as we get into the summer months.